Could global superpowers be behind the waves of unrest Africa has experienced over the years? Could they be fueling the same fire they claim to help quench? These questions are the latest revelations made by Burkina Faso's foreign minister, Kramoko Ibrahim Traore, during the just-ended UN General Assembly. Why did he ask these questions? Well, we are going to find out, but before we do so, make sure you like this video and subscribe to The New Tourist so you never miss out on what is happening in Burkina Faso. In a bold and controversial move, Burkina Faso's leadership, under President Ibrahim Traore, has publicly accused foreign powers of deliberately exacerbating the security crisis in the Sahel by covertly sponsoring terrorism. The accusations cast light on a long-standing issue that has haunted the region for decades: foreign interventionism and its impact on destabilizing African nations. President Traore's assertions raise critical questions about the role of external forces in prolonging conflict, exploiting regional instability for strategic and economic gains, and contributing to the humanitarian crisis unfolding in the Sahel. Since assuming power, President Ibrahim Traore has not shied away from controversial decisions and bold rhetoric. His government's accusations, which directly name certain foreign powers as contributors to terrorism in the Sahel, have garnered attention both regionally and globally. Traore alleges that some nations, under the guise of supporting counterterrorism efforts, are instead fueling the rise of militant groups to further their own geopolitical interests. Burkina Faso's position is not just a national concern, it is emblematic of a growing sentiment across the Sahel and beyond. Countries like Mali and Niger, which have also experienced political instability and coups in recent years, share similar grievances against foreign involvement, particularly that of Western powers. These nations are increasingly voicing their desire to reclaim their sovereignty, free from the entanglements of foreign military interventions and political interference. The Sahel, a semi-arid region stretching across Africa from Senegal to Sudan, has long been a theater of geopolitical rivalry. Its strategic location, coupled with its rich natural resources, such as gold, uranium, and oil, has made it a target for foreign interests. Over the years, Western powers, particularly France, have maintained a strong military presence in the region, ostensibly to fight terrorism and support local governments in maintaining order. However, these interventions have often been met with skepticism and resistance. For instance, France's Operation Barkhane, launched in 2014, was intended to curb the spread of Islamist insurgencies in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. However, critics argue that the operation has done little to improve security and may have even exacerbated tensions in some areas. The growing anti-French sentiment in the region has led to the withdrawal of French troops from several Sahelian countries, further highlighting the strained relationship between local governments and their former colonizers. The accusations by President Traore suggest that some foreign powers, under the pretext of counterterrorism, are engaging in neocolonial practices, using instability as a means to maintain control over valuable resources and political influence. This sentiment echoes a broader rejection of Western military and economic dominance that is sweeping across Africa. Neocolonialism, the concept that former colonial powers continue to exert control over their former colonies through economic, political, and military means, is central to the discourse on foreign intervention in the Sahel. Countries like Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger are increasingly rejecting what they perceive as Western dominance over their affairs. This rejection is reflected in their foreign policy shifts, with many Sahelian nations seeking alternative alliances with non-Western powers such as Russia and China. In recent years, Burkina Faso and Mali have made headlines for distancing themselves from France and forging closer ties with Russia. The Russian paramilitary group, Wagner, now known as the African Corps, has reportedly been involved in supporting these governments' efforts to fight insurgents, further complicating the geopolitical landscape of the region. While these partnerships raise concerns about human rights and governance, they also signify a clear shift away from Western influence in favor of what is perceived as more equal partnerships with non-Western nations. The geopolitics of the Sahel is now defined by a complex web of alliances and rivalries, where both Western and non-Western powers vie for influence. Burkina Faso's accusations against foreign powers must be seen within this broader context of shifting allegiances and the desire for autonomy in a region that has long been shaped by external forces. The accusations made by Burkina Faso's leadership have far-reaching implications for the Sahel's security situation. The region is already plagued by a myriad of challenges, including violent extremism and interethnic conflicts. The presence of foreign military forces has, in some cases, helped stabilize certain areas, but in others, it has contributed to further radicalization and unrest. Burkina Faso's fight against terrorism is part of a broader regional effort to combat extremist groups such as Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb and the Islamic State in the Greater Sahara. However, the accusations against foreign powers suggest that these efforts are being undermined by covert actions designed to prolong the conflict. If true, such actions would not only threaten the stability of Burkina Faso, but also undermine the security of the entire Sahel region. The destabilizing influences of foreign actors, whether through direct sponsorship of militant groups or through economic exploitation, have profound effects on local economies. Resource extraction, particularly in regions rich in minerals, such as gold, has often been linked to the financing of terrorist groups. This creates a cycle where instability leads to greater opportunities for exploitation, which in turn fuels further conflict. Moreover, the presence of foreign military forces, particularly from Western nations, has also had a destabilizing effect on local communities. In many cases, foreign troops are seen as occupying forces rather than protectors, leading to growing resentment and, in some cases, support for insurgent groups. This dynamic has contributed to a broader sense of disillusionment with Western interventions in the Sahel and a desire for more locally driven solutions to the region's security challenges. In addition to the security implications, Burkina Faso's accusations also bring attention to the broader humanitarian crisis unfolding in the Sahel. The region is facing a severe humanitarian crisis, with millions of people displaced by violence and conflict. The intersection of terrorism, foreign intervention, and environmental degradation creates a perfect storm for instability. Climate change, which has led to more frequent and severe droughts in the Sahel, has put immense pressure on already fragile ecosystems and economies. As livelihoods are destroyed, particularly in rural areas, communities are left with few options but to turn to extremist groups for protection and sustenance. Burkina Faso's accusations against foreign powers must therefore be understood not only in the context of geopolitical rivalries, but also in the broader context of the humanitarian and environmental crises facing the region. Bear in mind that regional organizations such as the Economic Community of West African States and the G5 Sahel will play a critical role in shaping the future of the Sahel. However, these organizations must also contend with the realities of foreign influence and the need to balance competing interests. The growing trend of Pan-Africanism and resource nationalism will provide a pathway for the Sahel's nations to assert greater control over their destinies. However, this will require strong leadership and a commitment to addressing the underlying causes of conflict. Bear in mind that the Alliance of Sahel States was born in response to the incompetence of international bodies to address the pressing security concerns. This alliance is a coalition of West African countries, including Burkina Faso, aimed to combat terrorism and organized crime, particularly in the Sahel. As part of this effort, Burkina Faso's recent allegations of foreign powers sponsoring terrorism add urgency to the initiative's objectives. The AES seeks to bolster security efforts and counter external influences, undermining stability through regional cooperation. Note that Burkina Faso, alongside AES members, has called for a UN Security Council response, specifically urging more robust international support. The awaited response will be critical in shaping both diplomatic and counter-terrorism strategies, determining how external actors are held accountable and how the global community responds to the accusations. The goal is to secure more consistent and equitable international action, especially regarding financial and technical aid, while reducing foreign military presence viewed as exacerbating conflicts. The alliance is keenly watching to see if the Security Council will directly address foreign sponsorship of terrorism or overlook these claims in favor of more traditional security responses. Burkina Faso's accusations highlight the need for a more comprehensive and nuanced approach to security in the Sahel. The region must address the root causes of instability, including poverty, governance, and environmental challenges, rather than relying solely on foreign military interventions. Only by doing so can the Sahel hope to achieve lasting peace and security. President Traore's accusations against foreign powers have sparked a critical conversation about the role of external forces in the Sahel's ongoing conflict. As the region grapples with terrorism, humanitarian crises, and environmental degradation, the path forward will require a careful balancing of foreign influence, regional cooperation, and local solutions. The future of the Sahel depends on the ability of its leaders to navigate these complex challenges and to chart a course toward greater stability and prosperity for their people. Despite the pushbacks faced by Traore on the international scene, one thing is clear. Traore's fight is not just against terrorism, but against an entire system that works to keep a certain group of people bound to perpetual suffering. Will the UN act quickly, or will the Sahelian people's struggles be again sidelined by global politics? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe to the New Tourist channel. Turn on notifications too so you get notified whenever we upload videos like this. Thanks for watching and see you in our next video.